The Maple Leafs beat the Panthers in Game 6 to force a Game 7. Do you believe in the Buds now? You're listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast, a daily Maple Leaf-centric podcast hosted by myself, Mike DiStefano, and my co-host, Dave Morassutti. It's a special bonus episode of the Locked On Leafs podcast. Dave and I just could not contain ourselves. We didn't want to wait until Monday to react to Game 6 and now Game 7. So we thought, hey, let's get on the pod and let's put out a bonus episode late Friday night, early Saturday, for those who are catching this one on Saturday, because the Maple Leafs forced a Game 7 with a 2-0 victory over the Florida Panthers. And Dave, you were down at Scotiabank Arena tonight with, watching the game on the big screen with Leafs Nation. Take us into what that was like. How was the atmosphere and kind of what was the talk of the room throughout the game and by the end of it?
Sorry, what? Can't hear you. It was, my ears are still ringing. I should have brought earplugs with me.
Those are the people we need in the seats come Game 7, right?
Mike, it was only the lower bowl, and it was electric.
Yeah.
I brought a buddy of mine. He's never been actually to like anything like this before. He had to put his AirPods in. One of the ushers had earplugs in. I'm like, how often do you get to use those?
It's like whenever Metallica's in town, that's about it.
Yeah, it honestly, first off, kudos to Leafs for doing that. Why did it take so long for them to do that? I don't know, because that, like, the most unreal atmosphere you can ask for, and it like, people I know, they're just like, yeah, why can't we get these people into the building for Game 7? Got to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice. It'd also be nice to get that Maple Leafs effort on a nightly basis too, right? Like that, they gave the people in that building a lot to cheer for. You know what I mean? Like, that was a quality hockey game by the Toronto Maple Leafs. That was the most complete effort I think we've seen from them this postseason. And to do that in a, Game 7 with your back up against the wall, elimination, on the brink of elimination, taking on the defending Stanley Cup champions who have kind of ripped your soul away with 3 straight wins, to come out swinging in the first period, completely dominate things, and really take it to the Panthers in their own building. That's what we needed to see from this Maple Leafs team. I thought they hustled, they skated, they worked, they battled, and they won. They ultimately won the hockey game. And that's what playoff hockey is all about. What we saw from the Maple Leafs tonight is what playoff hockey is all about. And that kind of looked the part of what a Stanley Cup contender should look like on a nightly basis. Can they do it again in Game 7? We'll see. But man, was that a hell of an effort tonight in Game 6 to keep their season alive.
Yeah, they gave the Panthers a bit of their own medicine, right? Even though the Panthers got shots, the Leafs were tight checking.
Yeah.
Those second opportunities were not there for them. They were in good position. They set the tone early. Like the top line did it early on. Had the Panthers in their own zone. Made it really tough for getting those second opportunities, trying to get more opportunities in the offensive zone and cycle the puck a bit. It was night and day. And it was simple. There wasn't anything fancy of what the Leafs did. It's just they dug in, and good things happened to them because they did the right things. They kept it simple. They didn't. At times, yeah, maybe there was a little bit of nerves, especially, I say, the second period.
Yeah.
Little nervy, but they bounced back, right? And so they didn't allow some back-breaking penalties to do them in either. So a lot of areas that I thought they were more aggressive. They weren't passive tonight, and that's something obviously when you're facing elimination, when your back's against the wall, you gotta push back.
Yeah, and they did. I thought they stood their ground pretty well against the Panthers, and they didn't let the game come to them. They took the game to Florida tonight, which is exactly what we said they had to do if they wanted to keep their season alive. Craig Berube spoke on that as well, and it's exactly what they did. They were on their toes instead of their heels throughout a majority of that game. Second period was a little bit, wonky there, but there didn't seem to be any real threat. Like, yeah, the puck was in the zone a lot. There was a lot of shot attempts, but not a whole lot hit the net, and nothing really of like significant, value. I would say there was a lot of high grade chances that they gave up to Florida throughout the game. So, Toronto, this was a complete effort. Gutsy was the word that Auston Matthews used post game, a gutsy win. And how about that guy finally getting on the score sheet? Big Poppy in a big way. Gets the game-winning goal to keep the season alive. That's how you lead by example. That's what the captain needs to do. It's a stalemate game midway through the third period. You get an opportunity off the rush to rip that puck. He took his chance and he scored. Was it the greatest goal on earth? No. Does Bobrovsky probably want it back? Possibly. But guess what? You can't take it back. And Auston Matthews off the schneid finds the scoreboard, and it stood as the game-winning goal. And that's exactly what we wanted to see from Auston Matthews. Needed him to have a big game, needed Marner to have a big game. Marner created the turnover to set up the goal. Those two, I thought, played really, really well tonight. Big response from those two after being highly criticized for what they did in Game 5.
Though, like, those two could not go into this game and have a pedestrian effort.
Yeah.
They needed... Again, what we saw there, make sure you're doing your best to force turnovers, getting the puck out, skating the puck out, and then that play that led to the goal. Auston Matthews finally finding a shooting lane, because I don't know, this guy has had the worst time trying to get pucks on goal, and he found a way. He found a way to get that one through Bobrovsky. I think maybe Bobrovsky was expecting it to go high. It went low, and he kind of changed the angle a little bit. But, I think you get one. Maybe the confidence starts to come back.
Well,
I think we're starting to see it.
Goals seem to come in bunches for Matthews. So, again, he finally got one, and we'll see if he can continue moving forward, right? You could just feel the relief. Like, there wasn't even a massive celebration. It was more of a sigh of relief and a come on, let's go, guys. Let's bring this thing home. And they did. They clamped it down, played excellent. Joseph Woll, made some pretty big stops late in that third period. I mean, Carter Verhaeghe missed the net on the one opportunity, probably the best chance Florida had at putting a puck in the back of the net. And then Max Pacioretty added an insurance marker late in the game. What a play by Bobby McMahon, another guy who we kind of called out and said he needs to play better. This depth needs to get a goal of some kind, provide a little bit of secondary offense. Florida was getting tons of it throughout the last 3 games. Toronto, not so much. And then just when the Maple Leafs felt like they needed one more goal to really solidify this win, Bobby McMahon, well, first of all, play starts with Domi in his own end, gets the puck up to Bobby McMahon. McMahon, beautiful saucer pass, and how about a burst of speed from old man Patches? Just somehow kicks it into third gear, gets a stick on it, redirects it into the back of the net, and it's a 2-0 hockey game, and the Maple Leafs able to ride that one to victory. And I mean, Max Pacioretty, like, I want to start calling him Mr. Game 6. Like, Justin Williams is known as Mr. Game 7. He's been, obviously, what does he have, like a 7-0 record or something like that in Game 7s, always came up with a big goal. This guy comes up with big goals here in Game 6s all the time, too. I mean, he had the game winner in the game against the Ottawa Senators, and now he had the insurance marker here in Game 6 against the Florida Panthers. And in the 15 games when Max Pacioretty's team throughout his career has been facing elimination, he has now scored 8 times in those games. He's a clutch player, and thank goodness he somehow found a little bit of a burst on that play, because I think that was a real key pivotal goal for this team to kind of give themselves a belief that they can bring this thing home, and that was just a great play overall by that line.
It was like the anticipation in the arena when that play was happening. like people were starting to get loud, like they figured something was going to happen, and then when it did happen, like I knew it happened, so it took a second because we weren't sure if it actually went through Bobrovsky.
Yeah.
And
Well, there wasn't a lot of, I mean, on both sides, like no odd man rushes, no breakaways. There really wasn't a lot of opportunities off the rush. And in the third period, the Maple Leafs ended up with really two rush opportunities, and they capitalized on both of them, getting behind the defense, right? Matthews kind of gets in and he has a little bit of space off the rush. He shoots, he scores. And then Bobby McMahon finds Max Pacioretty, who beats Nate Schmidt just a little bit, or just enough at least, to get behind the defense and score there. So it's just Toronto kind of capitalizing on the couple of opportunities that they had, and it just was something they weren't doing a whole lot of in the first couple games. And why were they able to do this, Dave? Because they were moving their feet and they were skating and they were working hard, and that's what you need to win games in the postseason. Let's take a quick break. Let's come back. Let's continue to dive into the Maple Leafs victory. We'll get to the good, the bad, the ugly. And do we have belief in this team that they can not win one but two in a row and close this out in Game 7 on home ice? We'll get to that discussion next here on the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DiStefano, David Morassutti with you here on the show. A special Saturday edition of the podcast coming off a Game 6 victory in which the Toronto Maple Leafs blanked the Florida Panthers 2-0 to keep their season alive, forcing a do-or-die Game 7 Sunday night in Toronto at Scotiabank Arena. And it's going to be interesting, man. That the nerves. I will say this: like I was asking a lot of people. I don't know if you had a chance while you were down there to get thoughts of the rest of the people around you or the group you went with. But I asked a lot of people. I was at TSN today working the afternoon show, and a conversation that I had multiple times was it would be the Leafiest thing for them to actually come out, put a solid performance in Game 6 when everyone's doubting them, thinking that it's over, just to kind of draw you back in, only to actually fizzle out and break your heart in Game 7. That would be the Leafiest thing to do. But if this year's different, Dave, like we've said a lot of times, this year's different. There's something is different about this team. They would win the Game 7. They would go on to win on Sunday and move on to the third round and play the Carolina Hurricanes and win 8 games in a playoff for the first time since 2002. So that is what could potentially happen on Sunday. We'll get back into that conversation in a minute. But before we put a bow on game number 6, let's get to the good, the bad, and the 3 stars. Not the good, the bad, the ugly. It's the 3 stars because it's a dub for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Who's your first star tonight, Dave?
First star, gonna give it to the one who started it all off. Auston Matthews.
Yeah, gotta give it to Poppy. Big time goal and a big time moment, game winner. He's the captain. Thought he played well. 200-foot game. He took charge tonight. He was skating well. He took a stick to the face uncalled, and then somehow he gets called in the very next shit like that. Just
a very nice shiner he took too. If you don't know if you saw any pictures after the game, it was battle scars from Auston Matthews tonight.
Wow, the broadcast, you could see like how red his eye was. Like he took a wooden stick to the face, like took it right to the eye. Guy had to go down the tunnel. But he ended up coming back. He was fine, thank goodness, because he did provide the game-winning goal and the goal that opened the scoring for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And yeah, I thought that he was excellent, pretty well all game long, all night long, both him and Matthew Knies and Mitch Marner, and you knew they had to be. There was a big spotlight on those two in particular coming into the game tonight. And you look at what he was able to do on the ice at 5-on-5, ended up with an expected goals tonight in the positives, which is something he had not really been doing throughout this course of this series, but outchanced the Panthers 6-3 out on the ice. High danger chances 4-0. They didn't generate a single high danger chance when Auston Matthews was out on the ice tonight at 5-on-5. So he was, and we talked about it. Why was that, Dave? Because they spent most of the evening in the Panthers' end, in the Panthers' zone. They got the puck out very quickly whenever it ended up in their end. They pressured them, they forced turnovers, and they strike the other way. And that's what allowed them to score too. So Big Poppy came up big for the Buds tonight for sure. He was my first star as well.
Yeah, I mean, the captain led the charge. He, got, as we say, he got that injury and it didn't phase him. He was right back up. I think Berube was kind of like when the penalty was called, he's like, is Matty there? Matty's going to come out?
Where's this guy? What's going on over here? I was surprised he went back. I don't know. My group chat was kind of going off, being like, man, you can't go to the locker room if it's just, unless like that thing is gushing blood. You got to have the trainer come and fix whatever is that. If it's a new contact,
flush the eye out, right?
That's probably what it was. Yeah, I guess. But that's just what the group chat was saying. There were some other names being called there that I think were unnecessary, and they have now since then taken back those names. But Auston Matthews came back and scored and put his stamp on the series, which we've been waiting for, right? Coming into tonight, Auston Matthews was the only player in NHL history to have 400 goals in the league, and none of them, not one goal, after the opening round of the NHL playoffs. The only player in history. And that streak came to an end tonight. He now joins a long laundry list of 400-plus goal scorers who have also scored in the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. So kudos to Auston Matthews. Just when the team needed him, he did come up big for the Buds. Your second star, Dave.
Well, another guy that came up big. And after all, you're my Joseph Woll.
Give it to me, Dave. Keep going.
Because maybe he's going to be the one that saves me.
Yeah, keep it going.
After all, you're my Joseph Woll.
Yeah, baby.
Friggin' nails Joseph Woll tonight. I got some stats for you.
Hit him. Hit me with him.
5 elimination games in his career. Joseph Woll is 4-1 with a 1.13 goals against average, 958 save percentage, and a shutout. His first career playoff shutout.
Should have been 2. Should have been 2 shutouts.
Yes.
We all know what happened in the last time. He almost got a shutout in a game clinching. But anyways, we won't talk about that.
He should be good for game 7, right?
As far as I know, he looked okay at the end of the game.
With everything you got. Put him in the bubble.
Okay. Although there was a little collision with him and Tkachuk at the end of the game. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, was there?
Yeah, there was. But I think he'll be okay. Sounds like he will be. We'll update you on Matthew Knies a little bit later on the show, though. He was kind of in and out of the lineup tonight. Gutted through the game, but unsure if he's going to be ready to go for game 7. But as far as we know, Joseph Woll, A-OK. And he was great tonight. 21 save shutout for Joseph Woll. Kept the Leafs alive in the second period when they were kind of on their heels a little bit. Here's the stat pack in the second period. The Maple Leafs, they were outshot 12-2. Shot attempts were 32-5. High danger chances were 5-1, and scoring chances were 13-1. But guess what, Dave? The goals 0-0, and that's all that matters, because Joseph Woll was a brick wall in the second period to keep this game scoreless and allow this team to get their game back in the third period and get going. And finally, they broke through. Auston Matthews got another one with Max Pacioretty, and then Joseph Woll shut her down in the final couple of minutes when, again, a little bit of a push from Florida, but he made some stops. There's a couple of block shots as well, and the team was able to close it out and maintain the shutout for Joseph Woll. But he was also my second star of the game, of course.
Yeah, I don't. You're not winning a game like that without a goaltending performance like that, because Bobrovsky was good. He didn't face, again, Bobrovsky faced decent amount of chances, but
it was pretty even in terms of, like, there wasn't a whole lot, I would say, tonight. It was a very tight game. At 5-on-5, the shots were 17-13. Like, at 5-on-5. Like, there really was not a whole lot out there. The scoring chances, 22-21. Like, super, super close. And then Toronto did actually in terms of more high quality chances, 13-6 for high danger chances for the Maple Leafs. They had the edge there, but pretty much it was a fairly evenish game at 5-on-5 at least.
Yeah, that was like the Leafs checking in this game. The Leafs defense. I'll get a little bit more on my. I guess maybe I'll go to my third star here.
Get there.
My third star was the Leafs blue line in this game. Couple stats here for you. One, namely being that the Leafs blue line. Here we go. Wait, make sure I get the right one. Yeah, the blue line blocked a season high 21 shots in Game 6, regular season playoffs. 21 shots blocked, and Mike Kelly allowed 3 shots on net from the slot, fewest by a team in any game in these playoffs.
And doing that against the Florida Panthers, who are the best in the league at getting those slot shots, at generating those chances, at working to get into those areas. And Toronto made sure that they kept things very, very far into the outside tonight. I mean, you take a look at the heat map for the Florida Panthers. There's not a whole lot out in front of the net. Toronto, very dark coloring in front of the goal. Florida, not a whole lot. Most of their shots came from out wide. I mean, I could tell you in 2 seconds, actually, what the average shot distance that Joseph Woll faced. It was 47.24 feet. So 47 feet from the net was the average shot distance from Joseph Woll, compared to Toronto. The average shot distance that Bobrovsky faced tonight, I'd imagine, was much closer, 37 feet. So Toronto, 10 feet closer, their average shot over the Florida Panthers. So the Leafs defense, and it wasn't just the blue line. I mean, credit to the blue line, obviously getting in front of pucks, but I thought they played as a 5-man unit, and you had 5 guys below the hash marks, really taking things away and closing in on guys and forechecking and winning some board battles to get the puck and get it out. Something they had not been doing in the games prior. But you mentioned it, the block shots tonight for the blue line. You're looking at 4 block shots for Simon Benoit, a block shot from Brandon Carlo, 4 block shots for Ekman Larson, 3 for Riley, 3 for McCabe, and Chris Tanev, a game high 6 blocks for Chris Tanev. He took it on the chin. He did not like his performance in Game 5 and said, I got to be better. I have to be better. He was phenomenal tonight, killing plays, blocking shots, not giving anything to the opposition. I'm curious what I didn't even look what his numbers look like, his on ice numbers, but I would imagine they were pretty good tonight. Yeah, only allowed 5 shots. How many high danger chances did he allow? 1. He only allowed 1 single high danger chance at 5-on-5 tonight, while Chris Tanev was out on the ice tonight. So he again led the charge for the Maple Leafs. So kudos to the blue line. I want to give it to the Maple Leafs in the first period as a whole. We knew it'd be important, right? They had to set the tone early and prove that the last game is behind them, and they know that what they have to do in order to win. And I recall after the first period, I looked at, I was watching it with my roommate Cam. I looked at him and I said, I think the Leafs going to win this game. They're actually playing with a lot of pace, with a lot of aggression. They're playing on their toes. They're skating. They're winning battles. This looks more like game 1 and 2. They have a chance to win this game. Turns out they did. But you look at the stats, the stat pack in the first period at 5-on-5, the Leafs outshot Florida 7-1, outchanced them 13-4, and the high danger chances 9-0. 9-0 for the Maple Leafs in the first period there. They didn't score, of course. They didn't score, but they kept at it. They're persistent. They continue to get their opportunities, and eventually it broke through. Poppy scores 1, Pacioretty scores another, and the Maple Leafs win this game 2-0. And it was all, to me, I think, because they set the tone early in the first period and then continued that level of intensity throughout the rest of the game.
Yeah, and that's what it was, right? They didn't have just a good start. Yes, the second period, they were on their heels, but the third period, with the season on the line, came up with, just win important battles. And with even with the 2-0 lead, Florida had a fair amount of time to try to get back into that game. And the Leafs, they held their ground. Like even on the penalty kill, like you saw, they weren't spending as much time in their own zone. So I think what that also did was they weren't getting hemmed in for so long. Guys weren't getting as fatigued because they weren't facing as much of the, forecheck, or they weren't facing extra pressure. They were getting the puck out, and they were pretty sound in that department. They like every time the Leafs cleared the zone, you should have heard that arena. It was it was like that was bigger than some of the other things that they're doing in the game. Every time they cleared the zone, especially on the penalty kill. So I think again, it's a lot of things you can take and bring into this game 7. But again, everything kind of resets now. It's one game all.
Yeah.
One game to decide who moves on.
Yep. Absolutely. And I do want to give also a little bit of an honorable I thought Max Domi had a pretty good game too. He got an assist on the insurance goal, but I thought that he had a really big back check that took away a goal, which I thought was important. Yeah, and was it the second period?
There was one in the first period, like almost early on, where he got his stick in the lane. There was going to be a cross crease pass to somebody open. I can't remember who it was.
Yeah, so I think we're thinking of the same. I thought it was a little later in the game. I should have wrote it down exactly when it was, but yeah, that's pretty much what happened. It was on a really good back check, and I thought to myself, like, okay, when Domi's playing 200 feet, the team's bought in and bought into that defensive, grinded out type of game that Craig Berube wants the team to play, and that was Berube hockey tonight. And that Berube hockey's won a Stanley Cup in the past, Dave. I don't know if you know this. That guy's got a cup ring playing his systems, playing his style. And they looked like cup contenders tonight out there with a 2-0 win over the reigning cup champions, Florida Panthers, and now have a chance to knock them off in the next game, Game 7, Sunday night. Let's come back. We'll preview that game a little bit and see how we're feeling going into a do-or-die Game 7. They have not been very kind to the Maple Leafs in the past. Maybe things are different. We'll discuss next on the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. The Locked On Leafs podcast continues. Mike DiStefano, Dave Morassutti with a special bonus episode of the Locked On Leafs podcast here on a Saturday morning, coming off the heels of an exciting 2-0 victory for the Maple Leafs Friday night in Game 6 to keep the season alive. And now they force a do-or-die Game 7. Dave, it'll be Sunday night. It'll be here in the city of Toronto. So Toronto has home ice and a chance to rewrite history here, right? A chance to rewrite the narrative as a whole. And thankfully they won tonight. So whatever bad taste was in the mouth of Leafs Nation from that pitiful Game 5 performance, at least they'll have an opportunity to give them a much better effort and maybe not get booed off the ice in your final home game. And honestly, if they play the same way if they played here tonight in Game 6, I think they got a shot, man. I really do.
Yeah, it all comes down to not allowing the Panthers to establish their dominance, right? If I'm the Leafs, you obviously get this momentum, but you have to understand that the response from Florida is going to be even bigger. They know that they gave up a big opportunity, right, to put away the Leafs here, and you just see the aggressiveness from the Leafs right off the hop, right? Going after their defense, finding ways to get into the zone. They're going to have to do a whole lot of that. They're going to have to figure out, to get that crowd, the Leafs crowd going, because it's going to be a little bit of a different crowd. Maybe we'll see for Game 7. I think you're going to have to find a way to give the Panthers to feel doubt and pressure. Usually Florida, you don't see them buckle under pressure, but tonight you could tell maybe there's a hint of frustration. They almost took out their goalie tonight. I don't know if you saw that. I don't even know how that wasn't even caught by the spotter. He got hit in the head. Helmet came off.
I saw a couple people tweeting about that, actually. I believe it was also Sam Bennett who clipped him accidentally, of course. I think Bob's is okay. I don't think we got to worry about Bobrovsky going into
But
Game 7.
But you got into Bob's kitchen. You went after him, even if it was Florida throwing their own guys into Bob.
Yeah, it was more so what it was. But I feel you. I feel you. Maybe you made him think a little harder. Like, oh man, maybe they're willing to come at me a little bit and get my grill, do a little snow shower or something. I the thing is, they know how to beat Florida now, right? Like they've done it 3 times here, and it's the same game every time. So if they could just consistently play this game, play the way they did tonight, right? Play with urgency, play with speed, play with pace, the counterattack, make sure that you stay on top of pucks. Don't allow, Florida to get going off the rush. Don't allow Florida to get in tight. You can win against this team, right? They're beatable. They are. And they showed it tonight. And now that they know the formula and the recipe, it's on them just to go out and execute, right? It's not an X's and O's thing, just as Craig Berube said. Like they know the system, the Leafs, they know the system that has given them success. It's whether or not they execute those X's and O's and execute that system. Game 6, they did. They played simple, they played straight line, and they played defensive. They played a full 200-foot game, all 5 guys. Got to do the exact same thing in Game 7 if they want to eliminate the champs and move on to the 3rd round for the first time since 2002. 2002.
Yeah, I don't know if I got out of there before the mayhem that was going on around Union Station.
What mayhem? Please explain.
Oh, it's I kind of saw
party in the streets.
Oh man, it was like you heard it. People were going to the trains, but there was people outside on the streets because they block off roads for people to walk. They decided to have a little party there not too far from Union Station. So this fan base is ready for a Game 7 win. I'll tell you that. I don't know if the city's going to be ready for it.
Job not finished, guys. Job not finished. I mean,
I know.
Kobe said it, but actually Matthew said that too post game. Yeah. Said job's not finished. I actually appreciated that. Took a little page out of Kobe's playbook on that one, and I agree. It didn't seem like they felt like tonight they accomplished anything. Kept the season alive, which was great. Gives them another crack to finish the job and finish off the Florida Panthers. And at that point, they'll be halfway to a Stanley Cup championship.
I'll quote Max Pacioretty on what looking ahead to Game 7 is going to be like. We're going to war.
Yeah. They're going to war. That's what it's going to be, man. Hey, any game against Florida Panthers is basically a war. And they both won 3 battles each. This is the final war, the final boss. For this series, at the very least, it's going to be Game 7. It's going to be exciting.
Question: if Matthew Knies is not able to go because it's looking like,
that's where I was going to go.
Look good. Who goes into the lineup? Who takes his spot?
Probably, I would think. Oh, it's a good question. It is. I would have to seriously consider getting Nick Robertson back in, probably. Like, here's the problem. I think that the 4th line you kind of got situated already. Like you like what you saw out of Lorentz and out of Lawton and that. Like, I don't know, man. It is difficult because I can make an argument for both Robertson and Camp. If you want Camp in there because he can kill penalties, right? Like, Knies a penalty killer, so you got someone in there who could kill penalties and take up those minutes. But he's also centerman. So you're going to have to kind of move Domi to the wing in order to facilitate getting Camp in there, whereas Robertson's already a winger. You won't have to do much moving around in that regard. So that's kind of where my mind's at. But
can we maybe just hope Matthew Knies is going to be okay? But
let's hope he's okay. Like, let's hope he's okay because honestly, if Matthew Knies can't play in Game 7, that is a big blow. Like, regardless of who goes in, whether it's Robertson or whether it's David Camp, they're not replacing Matthew Knies. Like, this guy's become a big time piece for this team on both ends of the ice. Like, he plays 5-on-5 on the top line, plays on the power play, plays on the penalty kill. Like, he is literally he's part of the core now. He is part of the core. Whether we refer to him as part of the core 4, he is part of this team's core, and he will be moving forward. So missing out on him, missing out on that element, someone who plays that edgy game, someone who can really, really, lean into guys. He's been able to score, create offense. That's going to be a big time miss for this Maple Leafs team. So it doesn't really matter who goes in, but other guys around the team are going to have to step up, like a Bobby McMahon, like a Max Pacioretty, like a Max Domi. It's going to have to be, and it's weird that we're saying this about Matthew Knies, who's only in his second year in the NHL, still on his entry-level contract, but it's got to be like replacement by committee. Like no one's going to replace Knies. You're just going to have kind of the depth step up in his place type of deal.
Yeah, it's going to take the whole team, right? Knies, after suffering the injury, I'll give him kudos for trying to stay in the game and trying to
He battled, man. He battled right to the end. Right to the end. We don't know what the injury is, by the way. There was no real update from Craig Berube. Maybe there'll be more news Saturday or Sunday as to what the injury is, unless you've seen something. But Berube post-game said he didn't know exactly what was going on and was unsure if he was going to be ready for Game 7.
Yeah, I heard he just needs more tests. At one point, you can kind of read his lips saying, I can't really move.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering someone's wondering if it was a hip or was it a leg issue. But yeah, didn't look up. He battled, he grinded, he found a way to, contribute.
Give you minutes. He gave you minutes. He definitely gave Berube some minutes out there. And it's all you can ask for. The guy's a warrior, an absolute warrior. And he's making fans in Toronto game by game, more fans and more fans and more fans. And if he's not playing on Sunday, hopefully the Leafs can, rally around it, win, and get him back in the lineup in round 3 and continue on their journey towards the Stanley Cup this season. But one more game. We'll see if they can get it done. It was a big performance in Game 6. Can they repeat it in Game 7? Dave, when we return to the podcast on Monday, is it going to be a happy show or a sad show, you think?
Please let this continue. I'm not ready. I'm not ready for this to end. It's my birthday next week. I want to be watching a game potentially on my birthday.
So for Dave's birthday present, please get him a Game 7 victory. I think I saw the Leafs at Scotiabank Arena, specifically at Scotiabank, are 3-2 in the postseason in Game 7s at Scotiabank. Now, I also believe that the Matthews, Marner, this core, if I'm not mistaken, were they 0-5 in Game 7s throughout their careers? Few in Boston, and then I think they have Tampa, Game 7 loss to Tampa, and then a bunch to Boston. So, and then Montreal as well. So there's been heartbreaks in Game 7s, and much like Toronto, they were dead in the water last year, down 3-1 to the Bruins. They fought back, forced to Game 7, almost won, and then they gave up the lead late in the game, and David Pastrnak scored in overtime to send the Leafs packing. Maybe Toronto can send the Panthers packing on Sunday, and we'll have a new champ in the NHL. We're going to get a new champ in the NBA. The Knicks down the Celtics, so the Celtics can't repeat. Maybe the Leafs can do the same of the Florida Panthers and avoid a repeat there as well. All right, Dave, we'll reconvene on Monday. Hopefully Sunday is a good one. I think the Leafs show up. I do believe they show up and give us a great game. And I think the big boys show up too. I think that they figured out the formula tonight and what works for them. And I think they got to replicate it again on Sunday. That'll do it for us here today on the podcast, a little special bonus edition of the show. I'd like to thank you for listening and supporting the podcast. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs pod on all platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on Twitter at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at D_Morassutti, and follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. We'll be back with another episode for you guys on Monday. Enjoy the game on Sunday. Enjoy your long weekends, everybody. Let's hope that the positive vibes of Victoria Day weekend can carry through with a Maple Leafs victory on Sunday. Go, Leafs, go. Good luck to the boys in Game 7. Until then, Keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.